Well, what's your advice for working with different generations
Oh, yeah,
of
that's the one
people?
I like.
That's the one I literally have to feel like I'm learning a new language
Yes.
to talk to
Well,
my younger
I'm
coworkers.
glad you called it new because we are afraid to adapt sometimes. And one of the things that I really don't like is people saying no one wants to work anymore.
Hmm.
It stresses me out. And I think that what we really need to realize is that no one wants to work for you. And I know that's hard for people to hear, but we have to adapt at some point. Become the person that people want to work for. So look, these things that we used to do that we came up with,
Mhm.
and yeah, it is scary that we're in charge now, right? Like we're looking back on decades at this point. But we have to be the people that people want to work for. And I think that's what's the spark right now at PCM is we are doing things differently. We're not afraid to adapt. We're not afraid to fail. We have sparked an interest by letting people do things differently, by saying, "Hey, bring your brain to work. We have found your purpose. Bring your purpose with you."
That's Lacy Boling. I'm Todd Faulkner, and this is Leadership Magnified. Thanks for listening. Lacy is Executive Director of faith-based Paducah Cooperative Ministry, whose mission is, quote, doing God's work with human hands. As you'll hear, we first talk about how exactly PCM helps individuals and families in need, and the agency's major plan moving forward to help more people. Before the conversation turns to how Lacy defines leadership, what's working and what's not these days. Here's our conversation. Lacy, thank you for being on
Yeah.
Leadership Magnified. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, before we dive into leadership, for those who don't know you,
Yeah.
who are you? Where are you from? Family? How'd you end up in Paducah?
Yeah, I'm not from here. So, thanks for having me on. I appreciate that a lot. I'm not from here. I'm not a native Paducah person. So, it's feels like it was hard for me to break through into a leadership magnified position. But I'm originally from Ohio County, Kentucky. Around here we reference where we're from by county, and so a little small town called Fordsville, Kentucky. Um, People reference that by Owensboro, Kentucky. If you're familiar with that, you've
Sure.
probably heard that. WFIE out that way.
Yeah, my
And
brother lives in Owensboro,
okay,
so
there
I'm
you go.
familiar. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm from Owensboro adjacent
Mhm.
originally, and I came here by way of Murray State. I went to Murray State University, and so came here that way. Um, what was the rest of the question? I can't remember.
Family?
Yeah, I've got some of those. I've got some family,
Okay.
and I have a couple kids here. They go to Paducah Public Schools, Paducah Tillman, and my husband, he lives here too. We all live here, right here in Paducah. But I came here, went to Murray State, and I don't usually talk about my family too much. Usually everybody just asks me, what I'm doing, and they usually ask me about PCM a lot. But my family, I go to Emmanuel Baptist Church. That's what people know about me too. But I've been in Paducah since 2007, so I feel like we've lived here almost 20 years.
And how long have you been with PCM?
I've only been with PCM not even 4 years, so I'll be with PCM 4 years in November.
Okay. Okay. So what does someone who's not familiar with Paducah Cooperative Ministry,
hmm
which is tough because I feel like a lot of people know PCM, but what services does PCM provide?
It's interesting. I didn't know about PCM before I got a job at PCM
Mm.
4 years ago. Before was there, I worked at Walgreens for a really long time, or retail management, or retail pharmacy. So I've only even been in the nonprofit business for about 4 years.
Mhm.
So PCM, Paducah Cooperative Ministry, is an organization that serves people in critical times, so emergency times, homelessness, and hunger. Those are the things that we focus on. If you're hungry, we can feed you. We feed about 850 families a month.
Wow.
So we have a myriad of different programs. Most of them are federally funded, but um, a big majority of our programs are just from donors, just people that donate to the food bank or to the food pantry or Christmas lights in the park. You know a lot about
Mhm.
that. And so that's a big part of what we do. We also have Fresh Start Village, which before I started at PCM, I had never heard of that. It's a transitional shelter for women and women with children. About 48 people sleep there every night, and many of them go to Paducah Public Schools and McCracken County Schools. And so Um, it's something I didn't know a lot about.
Well, in the vein of the resource provided,
Yeah.
you're on the verge of a pretty big step, the emergency shelter and client choice pantry. That's I would argue probably the biggest next initiative for PCM. What is that?
Yeah, so we just announced that we raised enough money to actually pay for those things, and so the client choice pantry is going to be a new way of doing a food pantry. So right now, the way most people do pantries and PCM, we've been doing it this way for years and years, is you call our pantry, we get the food ready for you. I don't care what you want. We're just gonna put it in a bag, and you ring the doorbell, and we hand it to you, and we all part ways. But to me, that didn't feel very dignified. It didn't feel culturally appropriate. It didn't feel like, if we're being honest, I've got 2 kids. It didn't feel like it would meet your needs. It didn't feel personal, and it didn't feel dignified in any way, any respectful at all. When I go to the grocery store, I pick what I want. Um, I think a lot about, um I think a lot about the kids we serve, and to me, it's important that they have a choice.
Mm.
I think it's important that everybody has a choice. One of my favorite things to do is in the pantry when I see a kid that I've coached. I coached Paducah Middle School basketball for several years. We were terrible. I was not a good coach. I was convinced that I could do something great, but it turns out I was not that good at it. But is when I see a kid that I've coached and they come into the pantry and I let them kind of cross that imaginary barrier into the pantry and I say, "Hey, pick your cereal out or pick what kind of Pop Tarts you want." And the first thing they always do is they look back at mom and they say, is this okay?" And the thing that tells me is they don't normally choose anything. And then the other thing that happens is they only ever pick one thing. So that tells me choice is not common where they reside. And that just bums me out, Todd? Like that's a bummer.
Yeah, it is, and I think a lot of people will hear that, and it's the idea we were kind of talking before we recorded. We know that that exists in
Mhm.
some world,
Yeah.
but it's different when you witness it. Like
Yeah.
you said, when I go to the grocery store, I don't even think. I think, oh, I need that. Oh, I want that.
Mhm.
To live in that world would be really really tough, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and so for me, just seeing that a lot, um, I just felt like it was time for something different. I'd seen it in other areas because about me is I'm going to research everything. I'm gonna learn about it. I'm gonna know about it. So when I came on to PCM and really learned about food pantries, why do we have to do this the same? Why are we doing the same as everyone else? Let's do something different. And when we had the opportunity to have a bigger pantry, I thought it was time. The time is now. Like let's do this. And there's not one in Western Kentucky. Um, let's do a client choice pantry. And so that's what we're going to do. Now we've got the money. We're going to move over there, and we're currently under construction. So it's going to actually increase our efficiency too, because when people pick what they want, we're not wasteful. We're not just handing them what they don't want um, and then hoping they'll use it, right?
Mm.
Because if I don't want it, I'm not using it.
Right.
And so we know through research that they actually use less.
Talk about the emergency shelter
Yeah,
component of this
absolutely.
project.
Absolutely. So the second part of that, after we do the pantry, um, we will be able to in our current building, we'll be able to build a 48 bed shelter. So that's going to be the first of its kind, also in Western Kentucky. We will have a 48-bed shelter for anybody night by night. Currently, we have Fresh Start Village, which is a transitional shelter. People can stay months at a time. That's more intense case management. But what happens if you need a place to stay tonight? You're fleeing domestic violence. You find yourself evicted, which many people are right now, because there's a housing shortage. So what comes with that is high eviction rates. So we're seeing people sleeping outside. You see it in downtown Paducah, but it's not just that. It's people that are couch surfing. I go back to when I played basketball. One of my players, she didn't have the right shoes, and so I bought her a pair of shoes. And the next day, she came to practice and she didn't have them on. It stressed me out, Todd, because people like us are prone to fix problems with money quickly.
Hmm.
And so I asked her. I said, "Why? Where are your shoes? Because I swear you ran faster yesterday with those shoes." And she said, "We didn't stay there last night, coach." And
Uh,
it come to find out that she was staying with different members of her family stayed with her grandmother, stayed with her aunt, stayed with different people, and so she didn't always have everything she needed every day,
One
and
place.
that's couch surfing, and that is predominantly what we see, and so those people need a place to stay too every single night, and so we'll be able to add 48 beds into Paducah and McCracken County, and so that's what that's going to look like. Families, men, women, and children will have a place for everyone. 48 beds. So currently, we do not have that in Paducah.
And it's needed, obviously.
Yeah.
You're seeing it on the
Well, we had a
first-hand level.
16% increase in homelessness last year. So we're currently 3,805 units short. Currently, Paducah Public Schools is 300 students without proper shelter, and McCracken County is over 200. I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing.
It
And we're
exists.
pretending like it's not a thing. But anyway, this is about leadership.
No, this is good stuff. Let's
Yeah.
pivot to leadership.
Yeah.
How would
Yeah.
you describe your leadership style?
You know, the thing about leadership is authenticity is going to translate anywhere
Mm.
in all levels of leadership, at all levels of leadership in any type. Um, I've been in the private sector, public, and now nonprofit, um, and it translates to every position I've been in. I've been a people leader for over 20 years, and I've never not been successful being authentic, and um, I try to remember what I've come from. And some people say, "Hey, Lacey, you don't have to tell those stories anymore. You don't have to make sure people know where you came from." Um, but I think it's important because it allows me to connect with everybody every time. Um, and it also allows me to connect with the people that I serve and tell their story a little better. Um, Nobody on my mom's side of my family had ever finished high school, so I'm the first there. Nobody had ever even knew what college was, and so for me to be able to do those things and then go and tell the people that I serve, "Hey, I know where you're from. I know what you've done. Um, I know how you're getting out. I did too. Let me help you now." And so I think that being authentic and just saying sometimes, "Hey, I don't know the answers to this. I don't know exactly where we're going, but let's build it together." And then being collaborative through that, just being transparent, just saying, I don't always have all the answers, but just whatever that authentic looks like,
Mhm.
it translates everywhere I've ever been.
You know, a common theme that keeps popping up in these interviews that I do with this podcast is it's okay not to have the answer.
Yeah.
And that's what I preach to
Mhm.
producers and reporters
Yeah.
when they start. I always say, in the afternoon meeting, who's the guy that raises his hand and goes, "I don't get it. What?" I'm like, "It's me, and I'm the main evening anchor." I was
Yeah.
like, "So don't ever feel you've got to have the answer."
Mhm.
I don't always have the answer. So
I think it opens up a great I think it opens up great discussion for people just to say, let's literally build this together because that's where you get diversity of thought. That's where you're gonna get all the great answers right there.
what have been some lessons that you've learned along the way in developing your leadership style?
Um, some great lessons for me is that it's okay to fail. In 2020, I think with a lot of people, um, I left a career that was lucrative. I left a good career in pharmacy retail management, and it was over girls basketball. I'm telling you, I was really going to be the next great basketball coach. I really
Pat
was.
Summit, you were going to be the next Pat Summit.
Absolutely, it was me. It was going to be me. And my supervisor at the time said, "Hey, we're really going to have to run this past HR to see if you can be a part-time sixth grade basketball coach." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, what?" And he said, "Well, what if we need to call you? What if we need to call you and you're coaching?" Now, keep in mind, sixth grade basketball coach, I'm teaching left-handed layups, maybe. And I said, I don't think that's me. I don't think I'm working full-time for you and I'm going to make less than $1,000 part-time coaching sixth grade basketball. I need to find my purpose. And I knew who I was. And so, a big lesson I learned from that was I know who I am. I had to stick to who I was at my core. And so I walked away from that position after I'd been there for 13, 14 years because they were not going to let me coach sixth grade basketball.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I, it's time. Like 2020's coming, the perfect storm. Like, I really want to be here in my community. I knew it. But I think also you have to be adaptable too. Like you have to be flexible, but at your core, know who you are. But I think a big mistake that we all make is not being flexible enough. But you have to know where you can flex and where you cannot flex. But that's a big thing I've learned is um, you got to know who you are, how far you're willing to go, and then how far you're not willing to go. Now, I will tell you, in the meantime, I did get laid off for the job I left for, but I learned that I'm not afraid to fail, and so
Who have been some influences in your life? Just not leadership, yeah, but just in life. Is there a mentor? Is there a relative that's been
yeah. I
influential?
mean, I think a lot about. I think people that give you feedback, period, are influential.
Mm.
I think feedback is very valuable. It hurts sometimes, it's good sometimes, but I think anybody that'll just shoot you straight and tell you the truth about your performance, about what you're doing well, what you're not doing well is an influence. I remember a professor wrote just two simple words on a research paper, and it said grad school question mark. And I didn't even know what grad school was. Remember, nobody in my family had been to college, much less grad school. So then I go start asking my friends, what's grad school? And then I finished graduate school, you know. Or a math teacher in high school that said, I don't think you're going to be able to finish this math class. I don't like, watch me, you know, and then you're able to go do these things. Or, you know, I think about Bonnie Higginson, who, when I did apply for graduate school, who said, I want you to work with me. And so just people like that who've believed in me, or even just that little bit of hope or that little bit of just light that they see, those are the people that I want to run to and run behind and run with. And man, I'll follow those people anywhere. I think about Maury McGarvey at Paducah Bank, who said, I want you to work at PCM because we think you can just go wherever you need to go, and we'll follow you. And anybody that sees that in me, I'm going to work extra hard to do that. And conversely, if you say, are you sure that you think you can? Yes, I will work harder to outrun you, you know, conversely.
Yeah, I think everybody needs somebody that believes in us when we don't
Yeah.
believe in
Yeah,
ourselves.
for sure.
Because I think everybody's got the little voice of, can I really do this? Am
Yeah.
I faking this?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, everybody does. And we also have to be that for other people too. If you see something in someone, say something. And I think that's a big part of my leadership style too is I'm going to probably push you to be your best. Even if you don't know what your best is, I'm going to find it. I really want you to be something probably more than you know, because I want me to be more than I know. Because people didn't know I was, you know, I'm not saying I'm something over here, but I think a lot of times people look at you and see, well, this is where you started. I'm not sure. And so everybody I look at, I'm like, man, if you wanted to do that, like, let's do it. It's wild. Let's go. And I think everybody needs to just hear it. Even just one word. Like, let's just say it to people.
And I think that's a good lesson that as you age, I'll speak for myself. When I was in my 20s, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And now I'm in my mid 40s, and it's like, oh, I need to encourage
Yes.
them.
You have to.
And I won't say who it is, but there's a producer. When she first started, I want to pull my hair out. And now she has elevated and worked hard and just become an excellent producer. And the other day during the primary election coverage, after that newscast, I said, that is one of the best 3 newscasts you've ever produced. I was like, you knocked it out of the park.
Good.
And I could see it in her face, like, oh, I needed to hear that, you know? And
She did.
and in that moment, it's like, okay, I have a responsibility as a team member to lift that person up.
Yeah. It's us now.
Yeah. Isn't that scary that we're in charge? Okay, maybe another couple questions and then we'll wrap it. Let's go with this is I want to get your take on this. How do you what's your advice for working with different generations
Oh,
of
yeah. That's the
people?
one I like.
That's the one I literally have to feel like I'm learning a new language
Yes.
to talk to
Well,
my younger coworkers.
I'm glad you called it new because we are afraid to adapt sometimes. And one of the things that I really don't like is people saying no one wants to work anymore.
Hmm.
It stresses me out. And I think what we really need to realize is that no one wants to work for you. And I know that's hard for people to hear, but we have to adapt at some point. Become the person that people want to work for. So look, these things that we used to do that we came up with,
Hmm.
and yeah, it is scary that we're in charge now, right? Like we're looking back on decades at this point. But we have to be the people that people want to work for. And I think that's what's the spark right now at PCM is we are doing things differently. We're not afraid to adapt. We're not afraid to fail. We have sparked an interest by letting people do things differently, by saying, "Hey, bring your brain to work. We have found your purpose. Bring your purpose with you." Listen, everybody knows nonprofits aren't paying a ton of money, right? So it's not always about money. It's not always about money, but you do have to be competitive, okay? Like,
Sure.
let's be fair. The minimum wage isn't changing, so something else has to change. And it's allow people to find their purpose, and we have to be the people that inspire those people. Be a transformational leader. It's not about being a transactional leader anymore. If you think you're one of those, get out of the way.
Mm.
Like that doesn't exist. So if you are a leader who can't adapt, you are a leader that can't lead. In my opinion, okay? You brought me here. I don't know. But
No, I agree. I
but
agree.
I don't see it as a place where that old style can exist any longer. Listen, I had leaders in the corporate world that would tell me, "I'm sorry, but you can't put that in your signature. I'm sorry, but you can't I used to do stuff like put cat memes in my signature. They would call me on vacation. "You can't do that. We don't allow that anymore." And I thought, "You'll never make it. You can't adapt." These people coming up behind us, yeah, they're not going to be on time as much as us. We used to, man, the meetings have to start on time. I get it. But if we don't adapt and like learn from these folks, we won't.
And I think any organization worth its weight, especially, well, any organization, but like in news, I think there's added value when you've got the old guard and the young guard and
Yes.
everything in between, because
Yes.
the old guard is going to keep the train on the
That's
tracks,
right.
but the young guard will say,
Mhm.
well, let's try this track.
Yeah.
Or let's go this direction.
Right.
Okay, I'll try it. And over
Yeah.
the last 10 years, it's like, I don't know if I feel right doing this, but let's try it.
Yeah.
Our phrase is fail forward. Try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
If it
Fail
doesn't
fast,
work, it
learn
doesn't work.
fast. If you fail quickly, you'll learn quickly.
Hmm.
If you take too long to fail, you get stuck. And I think it's fun out here. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I think, I don't see you wearing a tie anymore,
Right.
right? And so I just think it's exciting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Let's end with just a real basic question. Just pull
Yeah.
back the curtain on your personality. How do you relax at the end of the? Let's say you've had a hell of a week on a
Yeah.
Friday, looking towards the
Yeah.
weekend. What is relaxation to you? Is it family time? Is it being alone? What is
Yeah.
it?
Well, first of all, I love to be alone. I don't like a lot of people. It's a known fact. But I really like to read a lot. I really like to read a lot of books. I'm up to 17. My mom got me a book counter. I'd like to do more. But I'm into therapy. I go to therapy sometimes. Every other week I'll go there after this. But being in the helping profession is tough because these things are heavy, especially folks that are homeless calling a lot, and so we're taking a lot of those calls. But I do like to read a lot of books, and so I do that. Um, but I've got some kids. They expect me to go to like soccer or softball games, soccer games, track meets. These type of things are interesting to me. So that's about it. I don't know. Read books,
Yeah,
sit on the couch.
right.
I watch Netflix. I watch a lot of documentaries,
I went through a documentary phase. Not
Yeah.
so much. Now I just watch trash TV
for
on
sure.
on
And that's
streaming.
fine too.
On
That's
streaming.
fine too. I don't do a lot of podcasts. Maybe I'll try, the one you told me,
Yeah,
Smartless.
Smartless.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see what happens. But I need to be doing if I'm watching something, I'm reading at the same time. So I'm trying to read some books.
All right.
Yeah.
This has been fun, Lacey.
Thanks.
Thanks
I
for coming on.
appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
That's this week's show. If you like what you heard, post a link to the podcast on your social media pages. If you have a suggestion on who I should interview, reach out to me. Email tfaulkner@WPSDlocal6.com. Send me a message on my Facebook fan page or on X. My handle is @tfaulknerWPSD. Video and sound by Chief Photographer Mason Watkins. Editing by Brian Clapp. Until next week, stay safe, friends.